Hi y'all, and welcome to Texas Real Food. My name is Stephanie, and today I want to talk to you about the risks of GMOs. The dangers associated with GMOs are plentiful and could be costly. Let me start by explaining exactly what a GMO is. GMO is one of those terms that gets thrown around frequently. So frequently, in fact, that the average person is practically guaranteed to have heard of it, but might not necessarily know precisely what it is or have enough information to form an opinion. GMO is an acronym. It stands for Genetically Modified Organism. As you might expect, genetic modification is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. This is something that arises from laboratory experimentation. This type of genome experimentation is considered by many to be a morally and/or ethically gray area. This same type of genetic modification could technically be applied to any organism, including human beings. Thankfully, there are laws in place to keep humans out of the experimentation pool. Genetic engineering is relatively new practice in the grand scheme of things. As the science is still developing, there is plenty of room for errors and mistakes along the way to stability. None of this means that GMO practices aren't actively used in our modern agricultural industries. Quite the opposite, in fact. GMOs are increasingly prevalent in the products processed by the industrial farming industry. When looking at the practical application of GMOs, it isn't necessarily all bad, at least in theory. Let's look at a potential upside to GMO experimentation before we get into the many downsides. Setting aside the moral and ethical questions, one goal of GMOs that I think we can all agree comes from an admirable place is the advancement of medical applications. For example, genetic modification applied to bacteria has been able to stimulate increased insulin generation. In theory, this could be remarkably helpful to individuals with diabetes. Not all attempted medical applications have panned out quite so well, however. One GMO experiment had the goal of eliminating skin diseases like psoriasis. The study was carried out on lab mice, which raises additional ethical questions. Instead of the desired result, the mice began to suffer from hair loss and an inability to regulate the temperature of their body water content. Long-term studies have shown that GMOs are directly linked to behavioral, physical, and cognitive abnormalities in animals who have consumed GMO seeds and grains. Some of the most worrying side effects of animal GMO consumption include organ growth inhibitions and fertility problems. Genetic modification often has a singular goal, but due to the complex nature of DNA, that goal is seldom reached in isolation. GMOawareness.com explains that modifying DNA does not result in just one direct result, but instead sets off a chain of unintentional consequences. As Joel Salatin said in an interview with the Daily Meal, a major part of the problem that independent farmers have with industrially used GMOs is their failure to abide by property lines. GMO-infused crops have a habit of growing past their own boundaries and infiltrating the crops of independent farmers. Farmers who abstain from GMOs can and do often have their crops tainted in this manner. You can think of it almost like invasive cross-pollination, and this can be seriously damaging to a farmer's bottom line. One of the major players in the GMO industry was a Monsanto company, which has now been acquired by Bayer. The poor reputation of the Monsanto company was widespread enough that Bayer has discontinued the Monsanto brand nominally. This rebranded company is still extremely active in promoting the widespread use of GMOs and securing their ability to continue their business practices uninhibited. The Monsanto company cultivated a reputation for strong-arming and leveraging their monetary success into tax advantages and marketplace concessions. They have an interwoven relationship with the government and an amount of sway power that many describe as worrying, and Joel Salatin describes as immoral, unethical, and straight-up evil. The Monsanto company always claimed that their aim was to help farmers by enabling them to grow better crops and more of them. Their claim that GMOs make crops better is hotly contested. It must be pointed out that the Monsanto company, and now Bayer, works alongside the industrial farming corporations, not the independent farmers and ranchers across the country. For more information on why industrial farming is dangerous, be sure to check out the other videos here at Texas Real Food. It can be hard to avoid GMOs if you aren't actively looking for them. The Non-GMO Project states that most packaged food sold in North America contains ingredients that are results of genetic modification. Two of the main GMO-infused ingredients include corn and soy, which the industrial farming corporations rely heavily on and grow in monocultures. These harvests of genetically modified corn and soy are both used as ingredients in many products and fed directly to animals on factory farms. This unnatural diet is cost-effective and speeds up animal growth rates with an increase to their overall size, but comes with many costs as we previously discussed. GMOs are a source of damage to the environment. Beyond supporting the industrial farming corporations and their harmful practices, there are a number of ways that GMOs directly harm the environment. Genetic engineering has led to increased pesticide and herbicide use, as crop resistances are formed and increase at an alarming rate. Super weeds and super bugs have been birthed as a result of genetic engineering. These super pests are increasingly difficult to destroy and require advanced poisons to eliminate, which of course causes adverse environmental damage. A study published by Nature found that GMO-bred plants have the capacity to produce a type of insecticide within its pollen. This pollen proved poisonous to many insects involved in the natural pollination process. This has proven especially damaging to the monarch butterfly population. The core beliefs behind genetic engineering might have started with good intentions, but the amount of damage the results have caused and continue to cause make it clear that GMOs are too dangerous to be widely accepted and used. Organizations like the Monsanto Company and Bayer have stripped away even the good intentions and become something that many independent farmers and agriculturists agree are evil. There are many identifiable risks associated with GMOs, and possibly more than we haven't even discovered yet. The burgeoning science GMOs are based on means we don't have all of the information, and the results could be very well even more damaging than we already know. Thank you for watching this video at Texas Real Food. If you learned something or found something useful, then do us a favor and like this video. We would love to hear your opinions, so head on down to the comment section and join the conversation. Be sure to subscribe and check out the other videos here at Texas Real Food.